Hi everyone, this is Christy. As promised, I'm back with the quick little tutorial on how to make the little money box that we showed yesterday. And so let's just jump right into it. This is the one that we're going to make, the more simple, quick one. And so let's go ahead and start with this one. We're going to start with a piece of cardstock. I prefer to do a cardstock base versus a pattern paper base because it's a lot stronger, especially when you add on the two layers. It's a lot more substantial and it makes a big difference. You can do it out of just pattern paper if you like, but it's going to be a whole lot stronger if you do it cardstock and then pattern paper on top of that. So anywho, we're starting off with a piece that is 7 1/4 inches wide by just less than 10 inches. And just less than means about a 1/16 of an inch. Half of one of these little notches from one line to the line that's very next to it, that's 1/8, and we want about a half of that. So just a little bit less than 10 inches long. So on this, on the 7 1/4 inch width, we're going to score here on our board, and you will need a full-size board. The little mini Martha is not going to be able to hold this big piece. So we're going to score at 2 inches, 5 1/4 inches, and then you can turn it 90 degrees, and we're going to score at 2, 4, 6, 7, and then you're going to score right at the 7, 1 before the 7. So it's actually 6 7/8. So 7 minus 1, you're going to score right there. So you have two little lines real close to each other. And then we're going to score again at 8. Okay? And let's go ahead and do that one more time, just so you guys don't have to rewind. So again, it's 2 inches, 5 1/4, turn it 90 degrees, and score at 2, 4, 6, 7, 1 before 7, and 8. Okay, so we have those. We can get rid of our board. So on this double score here that we did, the 7 and 1 before 7, we have this. And what I want to do is I want to cut these lines. I want to use this as our guide to cut our little slit for our money to come out. But I don't want to come all the way to the edges. This inner section right here is the top of our box, and these are our flaps that go down. So on this top section of our box, I don't want it to come all the way to the edges. It's a little less sturdy if you go all the way to the edges. You can. It's an option, but it's a little more finished. If you look here, if you stop about 1/4 of an inch from the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler, and I'm going to try not to get my head down here in the camera, and I'm just going to start about 1/4 an inch from the edge. And I'm going to stop a little bit early, 1/4 inch from either side. And let's see here. Okay. And so I've done two lines that are about 1/4 of an inch, and now I'm going to just draw a line straight down on either side. I went a little past on that one, but that's okay because we're going to have some pattern paper that's going to go over top of this. Okay, so we're just going to cut that away. Easy breezy. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a piece of the pattern paper. Now on this one, you'll need to make 2 strips from a 12-inch piece. So if you take a 12-inch piece, of course I've been cutting into this one, but just less than 2 inches, again, about a 1/16 of an inch less than 2 inches. I'm going to cut a strip of 12-inch, and then I'm going to cut these into just less than 3 1/4, just less than 2, just less than 3 1/4, just less than 2. So the reason why we're doing just less than is so that it doesn't come all the way to the edges, and it gives that skinny little border. So it's just less than all of these, 3 1/4, 2, 3 1/4, 2. And of course, they're just less than 2 in height. Then you'll need a second strip because this won't fit on here. And again, this will be the same thing. It'll be just less than 2 by just less than 3 1/4. Okay, and these are already inked up on the edges. And on this one, you can see on here that it fits right inside those score lines. It doesn't go over top of them because those are going to fold down. And if it went on top of the score lines, then it would go past the edges, or it would go right to the edges, and it can lift and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and glue this guy down while it's still flat. I find this is the easiest way to do it. So I'm just going to apply my glue straight to the project, and I'm going to come close to the edges but not on them because glue spreads. And I've got a very thin line here, and I'm going to show you where I put that. Okay, so that's where I put my glue. I'm going to take my piece and set it in there. And again, this is, there's lots of different ways to do this. This is what I find is the easiest way to put this guy together. And then go ahead and flip them over. And then I want you to use this as a guide to cut that hole. You're going to have to recut that hole. And I'm cutting off a little bit more than I did before, but that's okay because they'll match. And so we're just going to cut down here. And on the corners, you kind of have to reinforce it a little bit. Let's see here. You know, to get all the way in the corners. You have to go over it a couple times, rather. Okay, I don't know if I got that one all the way. Oh, there we go. We got them. Okay, and so there is our slot for our money to be pulled through. Okay, so I came up with an easier solution on this next section. So we're kind of changing tracks here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making the cuts on the side pieces here, and you can use your scissors. Now, the only ones we want to stay away from, we want to do the ones that are every 2 inches here. We do not want to cut into the double scores on either side. Those were just drawn on there as a guide. So let's go ahead, and you can use your scissors, and you can just cut straight down the center there. There, and there. Or you can even use your X-Acto. It depends on how comfortable you are with your X-Acto to go through, and these do not have to be perfect. You want to try to stay in the same general area. Though. Okay, so on this one, on this top one here, over here by where our slot is, what we're going to do is we're going to, excuse me, we're going to actually, that's not true. On this bottom one, on the opposite end, I'm going to cut off those sides, those squares right there to get rid of some of the bulk. Okay, and actually, let's see here. Let me make sure here. I think there's one other. Okay, so actually, we're going to take away 2. So I'm going to take away 2 of those. So there you go. So that's what we'll have. I'm going to actually trim that up so that it's a little more even. Okay, so I'm actually taking away the entire score line on those. Okay, so that's what we have there. Okay, and now what we're going to do, let me get rid of some of my scraps here. Now what we're going to do is start making our fold. So I like to make this fold, I like to do all 3 of these at once. And then the other side. And then you can come in and you can fold the horizontal. Sorry if I'm getting off camera there. Again, you want to fold away from your score as always. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have this overlap this, and we're going to apply our glue. To this little piece here on top as it's folded in. So go ahead and set that down, and just with everything completely flat, go ahead and lay that down. Okay. And then you can go ahead and pop it up, and this is what you should have. Okay, so we have tabs on 3 sides there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of these squares that we've cut away, and I'm going to trim up wherever I see a leftover score line. I'm going to trim off that score line, but not a lot, you know, just the score line there, and I'm going to do that on 2 of them. So I'm just going to get rid of any kind of score line remnants left over on there. And what I want to do is take those 2 scraps, and I want you to, since they're square, I just want you to score it 1½ inch. Doesn't matter the orientation since they're square. And then I'm going to, of course, fold away from the score. And this is what's going to create our little tabs. So the sides that have the double score here, that's where we're going to attach these. So these are going to go on the underside of the double score one. So I'm going to apply glue to my tab. And I'm going to put that folded edge right along this edge. And what this does is it saves a lot of paper, so you can do this out of an 8.5 by 11 instead of a 12 by 12. Otherwise, we would have had to add on, you know, 3 inches in the width there. Okay, so that tab is on there. So you see on the inside, you can see that little 1/2 inch right there. And this just extends that double score top. And then we can just fold these in. And now you might be tempted to want to trim up these edges and kind of taper them in, but if you do, your lid, your side wants to come undone. It doesn't fit together nearly as tightly, so I would not recommend that. Okay, so you can get these out of the way, and again, we're going to add our glue here. Oopsie. And we're going to attach it to the inside of the side that has the double scores. And if there's any hanging over the side, if there's any excess, you can just trim it off. But this one fits pretty well. So this can close in here, and this can close in here. And just tuck in those sides. If you really have to, if you cannot get it in there with the sides, you can trim it off. But like I said, I would not recommend it. Because they will try to come undone on you. It's a much better, tighter fit if you don't do that. Oh, I see a little bit sticking out there. Okay, get rid of you. Okay, so there's that, and our top's already done. And so all we have to do now is apply our sides of pattern paper. And of course, you might want to go to the store and find out some, find some pieces that say congratulations, or cut them out on your Cameo if you have a Cameo, or on your Cricut. And sometimes when I know exactly where my piece needs to go, I find it easier to apply the glue directly to that spot rather than putting glue onto a piece that's in my hands, and then often I end up dropping it, and it always goes glue side down, just like the peanut butter, just like the toast, it's always butter side down. So funny. So we're just going to go ahead and add on our pieces, and these are really fast. Now I will tell you, for my local gals, if you guys want to make these, I have made up a little bundle of these that are already pre-scored. Let me go ahead and show you. I have a bundle of these that I've already made, and they are already pre-scored and ready to go. And if you guys want to stop in at Little Blue House and pick one of these up, just go ahead and tell whoever's at the counter that you want one of the little boxes. This will be the boy box, and this one with the punchable edge, this will be the girl box. So we're just going to call this the girl box and the boy box. So that's how we're going to tell the difference between them. But I do have 2 stacks that I'm going to be taking over to Little Blue House. So if you guys want to push the easy button and you don't want to have to do your scoring, or you just want one that is already, whoopsie, doesn't like that black. If you just want one that's already scored and you want to use it as kind of a go-by, then you can go ahead and pick one of those up over there, and then just follow along the tutorial to get yours done. And there's one other thing that we need to do, and that is, well, actually 2. So if we open these back up, if you want to, you can take a little, you can use a circle punch and only go halfway in, or you can use the thumb punch. They have these over at Little Blue House too. So you just slide this in there, and you just make sure it's even, left and right, and it knows exactly where to stop. And then you just punch that, and this will make it easier. See how I have to dig in there in order to get that one out? That's why I'm doing this. So all you have to do is, well, get in there, you. It must be at an angle. It doesn't want to get in there. I think I've got it too high. I'm at a kind of a funny angle too. Okay, and then you punch it again. Okay, so what that does is it just makes it easier to get your money roll in and out of there. Okay, so there's that part, and there's one other little thing, and that is, I'm going to get that later. Like I said, that's a good thing that it's hard to get that in there because it fits really well. So the next thing I'm going to do is, and you can use whatever punch you like. I'm using this Martha Stewart, and I believe this one is the Seal. It's like a teeny weeny, it's not a pinked edge, it's a scallop edge, but it's kind of like a seal, like a label seal. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of scrap paper, that is more than 1 inch by 2 inch, and I'm going to fold it over. So I've got this crease, and I'm going to go ahead and, really get that crease down there. And you can use a circle punch. You can use a lot of different punches or dies. And what I'm going to do, if you can see in here, you see where the edge of that is? I'm not going to go all the way in there so that it doesn't punch. So they stay connected, basically. The front and the back stay connected. So if you can see in there, that I'm just leaving a little space there, and I'm going to punch through, and it's going to create a little pull. Okay, and what we're going to do is take some dry adhesive. I'm going to use my ATG, and you don't want to use score tape on this. So I'm just going to run it through this whole piece from one end to the other. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get our money ready. In order to put our bills together, all you have to do is take your ATG, should, if you have the 1/4 inch one, and I just ran it all the way down here, and you cannot see it. Okay, I ran a 1/4 inch, you cannot see it at all, no matter what I do. Haha, that's funny. Yeah, you can't see it at all. Anywho, I ran a piece right down here, and I'm just going to line this up, and I'm going to put it over right on top of that tape. Now you want to make it to where there's no sticky tape showing, but you don't want a ton of overlap either, because if it hangs too far over the tape, then it gives something to catch on. Now again, I want to strongly recommend that you do not use score tape on this, because score tape is much more aggressive, and it'll be a lot harder for you to get this off. And also, when it's time to get this off, it's important that you kind of explain to the grad, especially if they're a non-crafter, which they are probably not a crafter. or they're not familiar, at least this familiar with our tools, is that you don't want to pull these apart. So there's all of our pieces put together, and they're nice on there. You want to make sure to tell them not to pull them apart, that when they want to take them apart, they peel them off, and then you just do the roll. See how it's just rolling off of there? You just roll the tape right off of there. And that's how you get it off, because it's important that you've got to have at least three corners of the bill in order for it to have value. So if you were to rip it off of there and you ripped off 2 of the corners, you'd be busting out some tape and hoping that it still worked. Actually, there are 4. They're just not all in the same corner. Okay, so once you've got, like I've got 5 bills here, you might be able to get 10 of them together. I'm not sure. Probably. I would guess yes. Okay, so on these, I'm just going to go ahead and center it. And I'm going to give it a little pinch. And I made this nice and even here. And then you just roll it up. So you just start it and roll it all up. There. And you guys have already seen me do this, so you can probably skip over this part. And this is the last part. You can do a fairly loose roll on here because it just has to be big enough. It's going to unwind when you put it in the box anyways to fit the size of the box. Okay, so that's going to go in there, and this is going to come through here. Uh-oh. Keeps on trying to pull back through. Okay, so what I did with the other one is I took it and about 3/4 inch in. I just kind of gave it a light crease, and that's what kept it from pulling back into the box. So let me go and roll that back up since I kind of pulled it out. Okay, and then it just closes up. And you can, on the bottom here, you can do a little to from down here, or the year, or whatever you like, little sentiment. So there you go. There is our little money box. Okay, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you back here for the next video.